most of y'all coming in from nearby, or do you have a little bit of a commute to get here?
North.
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 Gotcha.
Close to 183, not quite that far.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jeremy?
Like 45th Street.
Okay. Gotcha. Right too. How far was the track to get here?
I actually came in from Killeen, Texas.
Oh, wow.
But I was already in town and saw this, and I wanted to come here and do this, so it all timed out. I didn't come
Good.
for this.
Well, still super glad you're here, and thank you for being here. Wow, Colleen.
I used to live in Austin. I'm working my way back.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully you make that transition back. We have some family in Killeen actually, so I'm trying to think back where exactly it was, but I remember visiting their some houses over there. Yeah.
So, I'm actually one of the rare people that was raised there.
Okay.
So I went back to take care of my parents. I'm now taking care of the estate and all that kind of stuff. I'm rolling out of that and getting back into the world again. So I thought, let's go find out. It's life out there now.
Yeah. What's happening? What's going on? I'm glad. I'm seriously thank you for being here. But, yeah. How you doing?
Hi. Hi.
What about you? How far are you?
Chris and I were actually located not too far, just across the river on Congress.
Oh, okay.
So thankfully, we actually have a walk commute.
Cool.
I think it's a fantastic way to get
Yeah.
exercise every day. Unfortunately, the elevator still up. Did y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched one working.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you walk up the stairs or did you take the elevator?
Some more exercise for me. I was walking up the stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs again. So
Yeah.
got my steps in for the day.
Yeah.
Wait, you walked up it twice?
Yes.
And down once so far.
Yeah, but just at 5 because we actually work at 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we took the elevator up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, that would be torturous. 16 floors.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Welcome. You be joining us?
Yeah.
Alright, great.
Presentation.
Yeah.
Excited for this.
Yeah. This is actually our presenter, Chris. He'll be speaking here in a moment, but yeah.
What you drinking there?
Just water. Another plug for water because I can't hydrate enough. There's a water cooler out there, so if you need, go grab yourself some.
Yeah. Gotta stay hydrated.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure that out. Yeah,
I
no.
should put my Spotify around that side too. We're all having trouble with like the elevator getting up.
It was a long
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, it's been going on since this morning and it's like taking 4 times longer than
Yeah.
usual. So yeah, hoping they get it fixed tomorrow, which would be really nice.
Do you normally work here in the building? Yeah.
Yeah. I think we live on the 5th floor, so it's not that far of a stair trek.
Yeah, 5
So-
floors is doable.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not that you want to all the time, but
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
Yeah, 16 is not bad. So
Yeah. Who's this in the photo behind you? I see your face in there in the front.
Yeah, so believe it or not, that was from just a few months ago when we were both clean shaven.
Yeah.
That's both of us. This is myself and that's
Okay.
that's Chris.
we're different
The
now.
mustache changes more.
Yes, just a little bit, changes, But no, we pulled that one up because I think that was the last time we were able to give this specific presentation on keywords,
Mhm.
and so it was downstairs and hoping to give it a chance
Oh.
because yeah, yeah. So it's a little curve.
Yeah, that's good. And we're trying to do more like social type events too. So like I think the one after this we did, or it wasn't a pub crawl, but we went out to BD Rise and just watched some live music and hung out for a little bit.
Talked about jobs too, so it was professionally focused.
Expensive for your
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta have fun sometimes too, but although this one is a little bit more serious, it's by no means gonna bore you guys. Seriously, you wanna keep it fun, you wanna keep it light. No, yeah. Yeah, he does a really good job, but it's a very good learning presentation, and we're super happy y'all are here right now. Dedicating a little time to yourself on Tuesday night, so pat yourselves on the back.
Thank you.
James downstairs with George.
Yeah.
With George.
Just totally curious, how many of you are from the Austin developer community or programmer community? Sure. Dylan, one back there?
Cool.
Nice.
And that is how I found out about this.
That's how you found out about it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Well, for those interested in programming, you asked about earlier, software development, they are going to be the latter half of the presentation where they'll talk about themselves and how they help the community out with software developers. Yeah. They have a hackathon coming up in the near future, so really great way to get connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think it will be good. I think they really look forward to it. January, but they move it a little later.
Yeah,
April.
that's right. Yeah, that's what I was told as well.
Let's know the other hackathon.
No, I think you're right. They did push it back because, from what I understand, those are hard to put on very quickly. So,
Yeah.
And from Colleen, remind me your name?
Kathy,
Kathy, cool. Matt, Chris, for those of y'all who don't know. And what are you most interested in right now? What industry would you?
well, I used to be a developer, but I'm not up to date at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
don't know, I'm still playing. I'm in the early stages.
Early stages, still exploring, still finding out. Oh, it can be time to brush up those skills. They're
Yeah.
great guys to talk to when it comes down to that.
Yeah, actually, I'm very fascinated with blockchain, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe go that, jump in
Yeah,
newest, I guess.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
cool. Have you been to any of the blockchain meetups here at Capital Back?
No, actually, I just, yesterday started thinking,
Yeah.
I need to start looking, and that's what had me
Yeah.
see something, and that had me go, oh, here, and then, oh, here, and then, oh, well, I'm gonna be in town
Yeah.
today anyway, so I
Yeah.
thought, well, let me just start with here. So you're my starting point.
Great
Oh,
start.
good.
Yeah.
You did make a good impression. Well,
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meetup things is cool. I'm part of probably like 15 groups out there, but like a lot of cool stuff constantly. December is not as busy, I don't think, not
Yeah.
as many events.
I really
but-
wasn't expecting to find anything happening in
Yeah.
December, and I was really
Yeah.
more planning for what am I gonna start doing in January?
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting to, well,
yeah,
I'll pop in while I'm already in town.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had the schedule for about a year, so I don't think we would intentionally pick December, great time, but just that's the way it
Just
kind
how
of
it turns
fell.
out, yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I love meetups, I actually do a lot of meetups in Colleen. I actually turned my parents' house into a, kind of like a holistic, retreat center or event center.
Mhm.
And so meetup is how everybody's finding out about it, so it's really cool.
That's
So
cool.
there's actually even a whole group in Austin that comes to Colleen, believe it or not.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's insane.
I totally believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because those people from Austin are actually trying to grow something in Colleen, and now I give them a place to do that.
That's
So
good.
it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of cool, and that's kind of starting to be able to work on its own, because I kind of automated all the stuff that needs to happen, so I don't have to be there anymore.
Yeah. Mhm.
So now I'm like, okay, so next year is back to Austin.
Yeah.
I lived here for 20 years, so it's just getting back home. So I come here for my social life.
Makes sense.
Now it's time to actually live here and have the social life, get back
Yeah.
again, so
That's cool.
looking
So-
forward to it.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And quick, that reminds me, quick survey of the room. Who's Austin born and raised? Anyone say that? Really? Nice. Very cool. Who's been here in the last 5 years? Who's gotten here in the last 5 years? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Very cool. Very cool. Nice. Where were you from before?
Missouri,
Missouri? Okay.
rural,
Yeah.
rural southeastern Missouri.
Rural town, nice.
It's so pretty though.
Really?
It's so pretty. Lots of red barns.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really
Okay.
nice.
Cows.
Cows, yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend one of my closest friends actually from Missouri. Now, he was from Columbus, but not Columbus. He was Columbus, Missouri.
Columbia, maybe?
Maybe Columbia. Yeah.
College
Yeah.
Town, Missouri State University.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that's a fun, interesting town. It's in
Mhm.
central Missouri, and
Mhm.
south of there is really beautiful
Yeah,
Ozarky
that's right.
land, lots of cars, There's karst landscape.
Yeah.
Lots of springs and caves and all of that. So,
Yeah,
pretty cool area.
and what about behind you? Where are you from?
I was in Pennsylvania, until about 3 months ago.
Alright, yeah, a couple of Northerners, welcome down here. Yeah. We spent a little time, both of us in New York, but that was for me it was 5 years, college plus working in the city. And now coming down here is just a big relief for me, at least, just staying in the South. I love it. This is home for
Yeah.
me originally, San Antonio, actually.
I miss New York though. New York's fun, but it's just too much sometimes.
Have you ever eaten at Mitiera?
Yes.
It's like my favorite restaurant.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. I haven't even heard that name in a while. Mitiera, yeah, that's right.
It's a Mexican food restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I can name, I think, where the location is, there's at least one in my head. Yeah, that's really cool. Let me hold
You
this.
have to go, it's delicious.
Hi, what
Where is it?
It's
Fine.
in
Any place in
I feel like I've heard of that before. Yeah. Yeah, I've had San Antonio. It's not biased because I grew up there, but I think the best Tex-Mex food ever.
Yeah.
Like in any city.
Yeah.
So, but there's some border towns like who might argue with that, like
Probably.
like El Paso. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but San Antonio is great. Like it's such a large city and just a highly very Hispanic population. So of course you're gonna have just a great collection of Mexican restaurants. So
That's the only one I've been to there, but it beats
Yeah.
out everything I've had here.
okay, yeah, that's how I feel about those restaurants over there. So yeah, I mean, what is there here? There's
That's all right.
Nacho. I like Nacho Rancho. There's another one in Lamar. I'm trying to think of. Marty's Tex-Mex. I've
El
actually never.
Arroyo.
Which one?
El Arroyo.
I've also not been there.
It's good.
Monty's is good too.
Yeah.
Serrano's is good. But San Antonio has the best. No doubt
True.
about it. No
Glad
doubt
you-
Are we
about it.
talking
I
Mexican,
think it-
Mexican
Yeah,
food?
Tex-Mex,
That's hilarious.
San Antonio,
Absolutely.
you know, kind of where it started, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to beat it.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. We've been to someone in Cesar Chavez. It is 1 in a million.
I haven't. I'm ashamed to say I haven't.
Yeah.
No.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. Who's anyone been to 1 in a million? Yeah. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm very, very satisfied.
Yeah.
I pretty much love all Mexican food, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in all its forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I always get like the Don Juan because it's like $5 for like 4 meals pretty much. It's
Yeah.
like massive. Like it's so good. But yeah, it's my go-to. Yeah, I have a friend. He came from Australia like last night, and so you may even see him. He might just crash at the end of this presentation, but I'm trying to take him to all the places here in Austin. So like all these Tex-Mex restaurants. Taking him. I hate to say this. I'm taking him to 6th Street. So he just got an apartment now in Melbourne, and he moved from, gosh, I forgot the name of it. It's a town like a quarter the size of Melbourne. But I'm trying to, not for, we'll ask him when he gets in here. We'll give him a hard time. We'll ask him to say a bunch of cool words that sound
Yeah, I
awesome.
spent a lot of time working in Australia. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I joked that I was going to take him to the Outback Steakhouse. He really didn't think it was that funny, but I thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
Well, hang tight for just another, I'd say another 5 minutes or so. The elevators, people are really going to have a hard time filtering in here.
Yeah.
But we value your time, so we'll get this started in just a moment. Thanks for hanging tight.
Is there anyone who's like so tired that they just need a coffee right now?
Yeah.
Like,
Raise your hand.
desperately need a coffee. You want coffee? Anyone else? Because I could smuggle a couple back here with you. Anyone else?
Don't be ashamed. I just had one like an hour ago, so.
I can always drink coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, would you like one?
We want to get you guys amped up. You know, we don't want you to fall asleep, so it's good. Yeah, I'll go grab
Okay,
one.
great.
Yeah.
Actually, how do you like your coffee? 'Cause you might as well just go back with them to the creamer and stuff, right?
Yeah, I can pick them.
Okay.
Yeah. Y'all want to go on a picture? Unless I like a black, I can just grab a black.
Black's good too.
Black.
Black?
Yeah, however, black.
Yeah, that's how I drink it too, so.
Right on.
Hi, welcome. Hey. Welcome in, welcome in. We got probably about 5 or so more minutes before we get started. Let some more people come in. Yeah. Were there people down there at the bottom of the first floor, just the elevators?
Yeah, they're directing people up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, great. So in the Fender ball cap, where are you from?
I moved here from San Diego. I'm originally from Louisiana.
Awesome, a lot of traveling.
Moved here in 2006.
Yeah.
I do play Fender bass.
Yeah.
And some drums.
Rock on.
Yeah, I love Austin. Been in the tech community for about 10 years. Took a major detour this year and started working for the Inland Surf Park.
Okay.
It's like 10 minutes east of the airport.
Very nice.
Working with them.
That's awesome. You've been to some pretty big musically involved places. Louisiana, I'd say. San Diego's big. I'm sure. It's a really big place, but you're in Austin too.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love live music.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was a big factor in moving here.
definitely.
The music scene.
Yeah. Any other musicians here? Just curious. Okay.
Transition.
Okay. Cool. What's your choice?
Saxophone,
Saxophone.
jazz.
Nice. We all should talk to Chris and I after this because we also have a little bit of music background, but he's way bigger than me. You can talk about guitar and bass and drums and all that good stuff. Cool. But not myself.
You are.
There you go.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
It's hard to do this in yeah. So I was in class and did research this and I put it in why? I was like, I didn't do it. So I got
Yeah, so back in those elevators.
Yeah.
There's one elevator running for all 16 floors.
But I had to
Yeah.
go in and check.
Did you take the 31?
No, I did not.
Okay, yeah. So that was one of my do that twice too. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Matt, what brought you to Austin from San Antonio?
So actually, I made a little bit of a roundabout myself, kind of like you. Born and raised in San Antonio. Made my way to New York for college. I worked in San Francisco for a little bit. Loved San Francisco. I love the West Coast. That was really, really nice atmosphere. But I know it's a bubble, and it's not like the rest of California. Also, really, really love San Diego. One of my favorite places. But I was working in the hospitality industry, so obviously there's a lot of moving involved. At least for my particular restaurant and stuff like that. And then I did back to New York, then to Florida. Any Floridians here? No one? No, not you. And here I am back in Austin. So for me, and we'll have a chance to talk about it in a second here, but coming from a career transition myself, I understand a lot of people who are in this room are trying to do the same thing. So for me, what brought me to Austin specifically was a transition in careers, and really was working on this business that Chris and I will talk to you about. Kind of making that exit out of restaurants, which, as much as I loved it, there was aspects that I didn't, and I wanted to use my skills and my strengths elsewhere, you know. And I think that the story might resonate with some of you here. Just where can your skills be better utilized? And for me, it meant working here in Austin. Many of you might be the same. Great question. Thanks for asking. Yeah. All right, y'all. We will kick this off as soon as we get our Austin developer community friends here, and then we'll get started. Thanks for your patience.
Should probably be upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Once again, if you're just walking in, there is water right there in the cooler. And there's red Solo cups, so if you like to grab yourself some, feel free. Hey. Yeah, was it hard to get in the elevator? No, it was just fun. Yeah.
That's real though, right?
Mom was in Clean for quite a long time, so we should have a lot of family on my mom's side, so we go and visit
Yeah.
there.
That's not really exciting, but that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's not one of the exciting places you
Yeah.
probably look forward to.
So it brings me back just thinking about all those trips over there.
Yeah.
It's, in San Antonio to there, it's like 2.
But it's
drive.
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean,
Was that a long time ago?
it's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally changed since then. It's amazing, in fact, the last 10 years, it's totally changed.
Okay.
We have Starbucks now. No.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before it was nothing, no place to eat. Now
Yeah.
you, tons of places to eat. It's like any other
Yeah.
suburban.
That's how the
Wasn't like that
population
before.
exploded, so.
Super.
All right, y'all. Is ready to get started? I am. All right. Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. We want to value your time. We're running about 10 minutes late here just to get everyone up from the elevators that weren't working today. But again, I just want to say the biggest thanks, not only for investing your time in yourself, being here on a Tuesday night at 6:30, is not easy. And we all want to be home and we want to be doing other stuff. However, ultimately, this is time that's going to be invested in yourself. I want to let Chris really introduce the meat of his topic and why we're here. However, just to give you a little reminder of why you made the trek over here. It's because you're all either in the midst of a job search or will at some point be in the midst of a job search. You all want to know how to up your job search game. You want to know how to get that resume fresh. You want to make sure you're getting across those applicant tracking systems that HR and the hiring managers are using to screen out candidates. And you want to know, how can I get an honest review of my own resume? And so, you know, I imagine some of you may be transitioning careers much like I or Chris did. I imagine some of you aren't and you're just staying for what you know. In either case, again, really just thank you for being here, and we're going to learn a lot from this presentation. Quick overview of the agenda. So what we have right now, we're actually going to kind of give everyone a chance to introduce themselves. We find it's really important, especially during meetups and any other events, just to get people, you know, opening up, talking about themselves, and really to find out what the room is most interested in. So everyone will kind of go around and introduce themselves, their name, and what their target industry is going to be. So not what they're doing now, but what job they want. Okay. Chris is going to go into the presentation on how you can write a strong resume. We'll have a little question and answer session. This is just an informal, whatever you guys, questions you have left from the presentation. Now, this is a joint event with some really, really awesome people there in the back. It's the Austin developer community. If you are in the software development, if you're into programming, if you're into any of that, you're going to learn some great stuff out of these guys. They're going to get the chance to talk about themselves and what they do for the community. And I hope you learn a little bit from that. And lastly, we're all about connections. I mean, you're here for the meetup. It's about just making connections, meeting other people, talking to us as well. So at the end, we'll have a chance to do that. So I want to introduce to you our speaker. Now, I've actually been working with Chris for about 4 years now. We've actually been living together as brothers, born and raised since we were born. I guess since I was born. He's a little bit older than me. But I want to say that you have a lot to learn from this guy. He has so much expertise to share with you in regards to careers, career services, and as well as resumes. Again, for 4 years we've been helping people transition and really just find their best fit with their dream jobs. And so Chris can share a lot with you, and I'll let him kind of introduce himself a little bit more.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right,
man.
give him a nice round of applause.
Nothing better than an intro from your own brother.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. We'll go into kind of my background, and just so you guys know, just not some random guy off the street just giving you resume advice. So that'll be the purpose of that. But I just wanted to kind of give an intro and talk to you about why this presentation, what really drew you guys in here, and really keywords are like a really painful topic. Like I will speak with job seeker after job seeker about all these resumes that you're sending out, and it seems to be kind of the same recurring theme, which is like I'm sending my resume out to like a bunch of these applicant tracking systems or a bunch of job postings. I'm not hearing back nearly as much as I wish I could. Some people may not be hearing back like at all, like any responses. So it really is a pain point for a lot of people, and what this presentation should do is give you guys the foundational understanding of how to improve your resume so that it can actually start getting more hits, and perhaps a little bit of strategy that works around the applicant tracking systems themselves. All right, let's make it fun, because yeah, it is 6:30 on a Tuesday night. We all probably have long days, and it's kind of hard to sit through a presentation about resumes. So I encourage all of you guys to ask questions during it. There's going to be some interactive parts of it too. So feel free to go out, shout, stand up, drink some water, whatever you need to stay awake and enjoy this presentation. So, what is my story? So I, like my brother, had my own career transition. I ended up, so I studied hotel administration at the Cornell Hotel School, and it seems like this has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. However, I found a way to really make it applicable for me in my business, but it still means that I had to have made a transition. So what I was originally doing was managing restaurants in New York City. It's not the easiest job. It was like working until 2 o'clock in the morning, and we have more restaurant people here. Just out of curiosity, who else has worked in a restaurant to some degree and like know those hours? Wow, that's like half the room. So it really wasn't where I wanted to be at this point, so I had to make a transition out. So I ended up leaving my job to help other people find jobs, and which a lot of them are transitioners, and ended up getting certified as a professional resume writer and founded this company called Let's Eat Grandma, because there's an old joke that says if you take the comma out of Let's Eat Grandma, you're saying you want to eat your grandmother. We don't want to do that. We'd rather eat with her. So as a writing company, we find it incredibly important to punctuate. Don't forget to punctuate, guys. We are 4.5 years old, and we've had 900 plus happy clients and counting. That does not include any of these talks or people that we've helped develop their resumes on their own. These are actual packages. So we have a lot of experience in this realm, a lot of experience in following up clients and helping them to land their jobs through resumes. I like to say we have the best customer service in the industry, and we keep going back to like how I was able to take the skill of hospitality and transfer it to my own life, and I think it's a good thing for all of us to kind of do the same thing. But my mission as a business owner is to make sure that we have the best customer service in all the resume writers. Like people always ask on the phone, like, what makes you guys different? That is my #1 response always, is the best customer service. The second thing is that we integrate tech into our resumes more than more resume companies, thanks to both of these guys. So, all right, but that isn't enough about me. I want to hear from you guys, and we'll keep this fairly quick, so try to keep it like, well, take 10-15 second intros, but I'd love to hear from you guys what your name is and what your targeted job is in your job search. If you're not searching, just let us know what's up if there's something else. So we're going to start with you, sir, and we'll snake our way all the way back over to the corner.
Hi everyone, my name is Brian Lee. I've been working IT fields, particularly in hardware, the typical hardware trouble support. I thought my background is a CS degree. I thought I wanted to go back to my root and try to develop a career, work on a career on web development.
Nice.
Particularly starting as a front-end developer and hoping I can move on to the full stack in the future.
Very cool. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
I'm Hannah, and I'm currently studying to become a full stack web developer, but I like front end more, so hopefully.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
My name is Kyle. I am targeting a role in software development, front-end JavaScript, web development. And I've studied, I went to boot camp and done some self-studying and looking to get my feet wet, get the first job.
Awesome. That first job, it's always the hardest, but after that, it's like you can build your career off of that with more ease and the resume. So.
Brad, feed the resume to help me get the first job.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
I'm Taylor. I was a musician and now I'm self-studying and trying to get into front-end web development. So.
Nice. There's a theme going on.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I'm Adrian. I graduated earlier this year, and I'm looking for a position like business analyst or in data science.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kathy, and undecided yet on where I'm going. Been doing development and for 20 plus years, so we'll see what's next.
What kind of development?
Which discipline?
Actually, I'm more of an ERP systems, financial accounting systems. So the development itself, getting my hands on code, haven't done that in a while, but it was SQL the last thing that I did.
Okay.
I actually started in COBOL when it was cards. Sorry.
Is that Clue Fortran?
Yeah, actually I think we do Fortran too, but I learned I'm not a programmer, I'm a people-facing person. So I usually go into customer, what do they do, how do they do it, and then map that to software. So I talk on both sides, more like that business analyst.
I'd probably do that.
Yeah, business analyst is sort of my thing.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Wright. I went to school for computer science and then switched to graphic design. Spent about a decade in software QA, both in video games and social media. And now I'm trying to transition into product and or project management.
Very nice.
Hi everyone, I'm Kisa. I moved to Austin in October from Northern Virginia, where I was working at a healthcare startup doing sort of like online scheduling. And I was doing more customer service support, but trying to transition into more like being a product manager or something like that.
Hey, I'm Subby, just got out of a rotation program, looking for a role in kind of doing product management, but more for a startup or company that whose core is around some sort of data science or AI product.
Pretty cool. So do you know like a sample position title that you might apply for with that?
It would be product manager, but the company's mission specifically is what matters.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Haven't heard that. That's cool. Yeah.
Oh, hi everybody. My name is Patrick. I just graduated the Cody Boot Camp. Currently looking for a full stack web development position, but I have experience in software development, so anything within that range is fine.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Jeremy. I got a degree in civil engineering. I had my own moving service for a while. While I was considering offer for graduate school, now I'm just looking to transition into some else.
Nice.
I'm David. Worked in a hospital field for 3 to 4 years, transition and development.
Hospitality?
What's that?
You said hospital or hospitality?
Hospital
Okay.
setting. And I've been studying for full stack development, preferring front end like a lot of you here, so just to tell you it.
Nice. Transition.
Hi guys, I'm Kevin. I'm currently a sophomore at University of Texas at San Antonio, and my majoring is software engineering.
Cool. you guys would introduce yourselves now, or?
I'll go ahead. I'm George Fosdell. I'm a plumber's apprentice. I'm looking to get into iOS development, and I currently have 3 apps on the App Store.
I'm James Lockwood. Currently, I am a prep cook slash dishwasher slash freelancer. I do web development as my preferred job of choice. I went to Galvanize, and I've just been doing it since then. I'm looking for a full-time job somewhere in the front-end sphere of work.
Charles Beagle, I've been doing IT support for the last 10 years or so, trying to get into C++ development as a major role.
Very cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys. And it's good for all of you guys to think about your targeted position, because it's good to have some context as you're listening to this presentation, like how am I going to focus this resume, how am I going to, etc. And don't think that this presentation is geared towards any specific type of position or any type of industry. It really should apply to all of them. So don't think that, like, if you're not in a specific, front-end development position, it doesn't apply to you. This applies to everyone essentially. So cool. Now on to the material. First of all, this presentation is about keywords, so I think it's important to address what are keywords. Keywords are a phrase or a word that a recruiter can use to identify better matches. So just to have a really simple analogy or comparison, it's just like if you guys were to Google something. You want to get more specific. So it would be like if you were to Google Mexican restaurants in New York City. So you have 2 components to this. You have Mexican restaurants, and you have the location in which it would just simply populate the most relevant searches to the top. Google has the best search algorithms ever, better than some of these really kind of silly ATS systems that we're going to talk about. But it's just an example to kind of try and simplify something that seems kind of like mysterious to a lot of you guys. It's really simple. So what you guys should always ask yourself is, what keywords will my prospective employer use to search for me? This should be the question always at the top of your head as you are coming up with your resume, as you are coming up with specific keywords, as you were doing that. It's how can it get targeted, essentially, is the meat of the question that we should be addressing. All right, we have a quiz here, because you guys didn't think that you were going to sign up for this, but I want to know by a raise of hands if you think, A, there was a surefire way of knowing what keywords that a recruiter is using that doesn't involve asking the recruiter. How many of you guys think B, it is a guessing game and impossible to know what they are using, and then C, it is a guessing game and one can optimize their resume using some research and a targeted approach. So just really quick, one off. How many of you guys think that A, there's a surefire way of knowing the keyword answer? Anyone? 1? Anyone? 2? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, cool. How many of you guys think it's a guessing game and it's impossible to know what they are using? Raise your hand. It's usually 1 or 2, but not this time. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be here. Come on. How many of you guys think that C, it is a guessing game and one can optimize their resume using research and a targeted approach? That's what I believe. It is a guessing game. And that's not to say that there is a surefire way. The reason I don't answer A up is because there are some resume services and just people who can try to convince you that they absolutely know the answer, that there are algorithms out there that can nail every keyword. And although the software is getting more advanced, that's actually something that Let's Eat Grandma is working on right now, is to really try to pinpoint those keywords. Really, as of now, it's a guessing game. And I really want to set your guys' expectations to a reasonable level here and try to establish what we can actually do. That being said, it is possible to increase your chances of actually getting hits and getting more interviews by having a better, more keyword optimized resume. And that's what we're going to go into. Why are they important? So here's a picture of a really stressed out recruiter, because this is how a lot of recruiters do feel sometimes. And I do think it's important, you guys are stressed out too, but it's also important to realize kind of on their end, because if we kind of can see from their perspective, it will make writing your resume make a lot more sense, and it can actually make your resume better. But a lot of the times, especially if you have a large company, recruiters can easily be overwhelmed with resumes if they don't have a filtration system. a filtering system. Think like water filtration system. But keywords are a way of increasing your hit percentage rate and actually getting more interviews, hands down. So here is a screenshot. This is Bullhorn, an applicant tracking system that anyone can use to filter out candidates. So in this situation, the person entered in accounting, accountants, and accounts. And this system is actually pretty cool because it can suggest additional keywords to use to filter out candidates and additional criteria. We have a little video clip here. I'm just going to show you guys the very beginning, but this is explaining, Taylor is actually another really big one, another applicant tracking system that is widely used. And I think this one does a really good job of explaining how candidates are being found. Okay.
Actually, I don't think the audio is working right now.
Darn it. Of course. Let's see. I will, you know what? I'm just going to narrate it because I just watched the video. How's that sound? Okay. So basically, Taleo has a way of finding out different applications. This is actually a lot harder to do than I envisioned. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna skip that part here. But basically, it's the video's explaining that there are a bunch of different ways, in advanced ways, that you can actually find the right candidate. And one really interesting thing that it does is it will actually talk about how it can pull into different social media accounts, which I found really interesting. So it can actually look through social media accounts to find out how good of a match you are. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end here. But I think it's important to look at the bigger picture, not just your resumes, when you're trying to be more keyword optimized. So, cool. Moving on here. This brings us to hot tip number 1, which is no common sources of keywords. So we're going to go and you guys shout out the examples you have here, but these are all different types of keywords that a recruiter can use. So soft skills. So let's hear an example of a soft skill that somebody can use in a search. Somebody shout it out.
Time management.
Sure. Time management. What else? Great.
Verbal skills.
Good communicator. That's another one. Yeah.
Organized.
Organized. Yes.
Teamwork abilities.
Yeah. So like a lot of these are geared towards positions that are more like people person type of situations, but they'll be important in many different types of industries. All right, so what are nouns common to the position? Let's shout them out.
Software engineer.
Sure, I would say that's position title related, but you can definitely break that down and say software. It would be an example of that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, very good. Anything else?
Web page.
Sure, web page. Okay.
Analysis.
Yeah. Analysis. Okay, good. It's kind of tough with that one because you want to make sure you're not getting too general there, but nouns common to the position is a good one to think about. All right, how about position title? Easy.
Developer.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Manager.
Was that?
Manager.
Manager. Good.
Business analyst.
Yeah. I try to get as specific as possible when I'm considering position titles, so we'll go into that in a little bit here, but yeah, definitely. All right, employer names. How about this?
Company?
Mm-hmm.
FedEx.
IBM.
IBM, yes. All right, what about, what you said? Dell. Dell, good, exactly. We are very tech focused, so these are good examples. All right, degrees. What are we talking about here?
Associates, masters.
Yes, exactly. But getting more specific, like Master of Science, Bachelor of Science, things like that. Keywords, keywords, keywords. Location, what are we talking about?
When to relocate or when to stay where you're at.
Exactly. City specific, really important. And certifications.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you have any opinions on whether or not to use your full address or just the city in which you're searching?
I'm actually moving more towards I'm finding it more and more relevant to just include the city. And so as I'm writing resumes, I think that's definitely was a thing of the past because of snail mail, and that's not really a thing anymore. It's like you email your resume over to recruiters and they'll email you a response. But I think it looks a lot cleaner when that address is removed. But yeah, cool. Cool. All right, what's the certification?
PMP.
Yes, that's a good one. It's like a hard one to get. Or what else?
ITIL, Six Sigma.
Yes. So these are all ways that a recruiter can actually use to filter out candidates. And I want to put every single one up because I think everyone is relevant. However, in a survey that was given out to a bunch of recruiters on what keywords that they use the most in their job searches, not all these keywords were valued at the same weight. So, with the survey, in the green here, we have the most commonly used keywords within applicant searches. So position title actually was the #1 search option. Why do you guys think that is?
Experience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, imagine like if you're searching for a retail banking analyst, or if you're searching for a software developer, like what are you going to type in that search query?
Software developer.
Software developer. Exactly it. And so I think a lot of people get bogged down, especially if they haven't had that position title before. It's like, oh, how am I going to include that in my resume? People get really worried. But we'll cover that towards the end of the the end of the presentation. But I really kind of want you all to know that because this is probably one of the best takeaways, I would say, in order to get your resume to the top of that pile there. Now it's common to the position actually was 71%. So I'll give another example. So if you are applying for high school mathematics teacher position, a noun common to the position would be calculus or Blackboard Learn, possibly any tools that are related to the position or subject material. This actually was a very commonly used additional keyword query to add to that. Kind of near the middle, and it really depends on the software. Location is incredibly important, so that's why I'm always telling people who are transitioning into cities is find some way to get that location on their resume. And I know that's a really tricky one. Say you just moved here to Austin and you're applying for Austin positions. A lot of people will endorse this. I don't necessarily want to push this because I think we should go by a case-by-case basis. But some people will advocate having a friend's address at the top or close family members that you can include to find some sort of way of not getting pushed to the bottom. Then what I recommend to add on top of that is follow up in the cover letter with explaining your intent to move to a city and your serious commitment to it. Because a lot of people will have doubts, why is this candidate applying for this position if they don't have that title? Which is, I think, a good thing to note. Employer names, actually, I was surprised to hear this, but I think it actually makes sense the more you think about it. But sometimes when you have prestigious names or names that are recognizable, it makes it a lot easier for you to establish credibility within your resume. So just giving kind of an example, if you've worked for IBM, Google, any of these big names, clearly it's going to make sense that this person might be a good person. However, don't get discouraged. This is just one of the different ways you can do it. All right, so then you have degrees, certifications, and soft skills. It's no surprise to me that soft skills came last place in the survey because it's just hard to imagine typing in like good communicator in a keyword search. And I'm not downplaying the importance of soft skills. I think soft skills are incredibly important, especially someone who comes from hospitality. But if you're looking from a strictly objective way of trying to increase your resume hits, it's not going to do much justice to really kind of include the soft skills. Instead, what I recommend, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so do you think hard skills fall under nouns common in the position? Or?
I think so, yeah, mainly because, like for instance, in that math example, I think like knowing Blackboard Learn would be an example, or any of those programming languages, would be fair game for nouns common to the position. So, always important. We'll talk about how to get this in the resume. Any more questions? Okay. So this brings me to hot tip number 2, which is be position oriented. Can't emphasize this enough. So if you have all these different types of positions out there, make sure you include the position title as much as possible within your resume. So what I tell people is if they're trying to write several different resumes, is try to make sure you get down different buckets for each position title. So for instance, if you're applying for a retail banking manager position versus a retail banking supervisor position, and the job descriptions are uniquely different, I highly recommend you have 2 different versions of your resume because it's going to help you a lot in your job search. Does that mean you need like 80 different versions of your resume? Does that mean you need to go crazy? What do y'all think? How many of you guys like have spent like 80 hours on your resume by now? Anyone? A few people in the room? Yeah. What have you found through adjusting your resume? Has it been tough or has it been?
Gotten a lot more callbacks.
Got more callbacks?
Tweaking it, adding more details, giving more details about what I did for each position.
Great. You gotten like recruiter feedback on your resume ever?
Not really.
It's good, and sometimes like it can be awkward to ask, but I sometimes do recommend getting feedback. I don't take every recruiter's word as like the ultimate authority because the resume is such a subjective thing, but it is good to ask around, I think. So, love it.
I had a buddy review of mine who went to work for Facebook in New York, and he took a look at it and basically reformatted the whole thing, but I was like, yeah, I'll take your suggestions, you know what you're talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, what did you do for Facebook?
He's a JavaScript developer. He's been working for like 10 plus years.
Yeah. It's good to get help from the inside too, so that's all good. Cool. And just to show you an example, I actually attended an Indeed webinar on their applicant tracking system, which actually it's Indeed Resume. It's all, it's actually one of the most popular, I still call it an applicant tracking system because recruiters can use this to filter out the right candidates. But they actually put the most weight on the position title. So what are you looking for? And in this example, it was a registered nurse, and they even added a noun column to the position was pediatric, so they're getting more specific. And location is not an option. It's not an option to not include it. So they said within Chicago, Illinois. And so what they ended up doing was pulling people to the top who had that position title in the resume already in some sort of degree, and people who were near the area of Chicago. Another pro tip here, and how many of you guys know that if you update your resume on LinkedIn, or sorry, on Indeed.com, it will put your resume sort of to the top? How many of you guys do that already? Do it. Update your resume, especially if you have different things to add, especially if you've been working on projects. Update your resume on Indeed because it will not only make you look better to have more updated resume, but it also will kind of put you to the top here sometimes. Go ahead. Question? Yeah.
Is it similar for other job boards, like if you're using something like ZipRecruiter or other job search engines? We'll update your resume there. Do the same trick.
So I actually don't know the answer to that, but I do know Indeed does it, but I can look into that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually would be curious to know, but I imagine it's a very similar type of situation, because they want to see people who are like active in a job search.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a good question. Yeah?
As far as posting your resume publicly, I hear a lot of mixed feelings with that, specifically with like LinkedIn.
Sure.
I'm hearing a lot of like criticism of that. What is your stance?
So like the problem being what specifically?
I can't remember exactly. I heard a lot of criticisms. I guess one thing was that people used to put their address on there, and putting that publicly would be.
That's a scenario where I definitely would advocate to not have my address on there, and I would I think it's okay if you just have your city, state on there. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable putting themselves out there like that for good reason. I mean, it's kind of scary with the internet being able to, somebody in France could, see everything about you, and that was a kind of random example, but you know what I mean? Like it's very out there, out in the open, but I think don't disclose too much information. I think your professional background, if you're comfortable with it, is something that should be shared if you're looking to really move forward in your job search, because you never know who is going to find your profile out there and want to connect with you. So the resume is it's pretty much the same thing as LinkedIn anyway, so I have kind of the same stance on that. So, good question, yeah.
You mentioned like the ATS kind of cross-referencing, you know, with social media platforms. Is there any sort of cross-referencing with LinkedIn? Like what positions you have listed on LinkedIn versus what resume you've submitted?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So I tend to make my resume, like if I'm writing a client's resume and their LinkedIn profile, I tend to make it, you know, make it consistent for the most part. But in terms of differences, I tend to include more information on the LinkedIn, and then resumes is a chance of being more targeted and omitting information that's not as relevant. So, but yeah, does that answer? Good question. Cool. Any others? So, this actually was a very eye-opening webinar for me to attend, and I'm really glad I did because it really brought some things to light. So when the person actually clicked in the different resumes that were uploaded to Indeed Resume, it would actually highlight every instance to where their search of keywords ended up appearing on their resume. So that's really important to keep into account. Well, where do you look to find the keywords? Like, how do you even begin to start formulating your list of keywords? So, I actually advocate, number one, for the job posting. First and foremost, look at all the different job postings you're applying for. So, if you look at it this way, if you're applying for 2 different types of positions, you should have 2 different buckets of job postings. So, when you do get the chance, sit down and identify each different type of bucket that you're applying for. So say in bucket A, you have software developer, I don't know, for instance. So what I would actually do is pull different job postings, so from Indeed, LinkedIn, another Indeed one, etc., specific for software developer. And so say you're also applying for, I don't know, an IT supervisor position, which would have different requirements. I would do the same exact thing in this bucket right here. So job posting, job posting, job posting. And then what you do is, and this is my process, this is what I do as a professional resume writer to really help me get honed and get targeted. I will actually print out those job postings because I just catch so much more. I don't know about you guys, I catch a lot more when I have things printed out. And to save paper, just copy and paste and try to condense it all in one. Don't actually hit print, otherwise you're gonna have 100 pages. But what you'll end up having is a list here, and I'll start highlighting what those position titles are, common themes for nouns, commas of position. I'll start highlighting those locations and things like that. Don't go crazy with the number of keywords. Break it down to your top 8. So what are the best 8 keywords that you can identify for this position and the best 8? If there's some crossover, that's totally fine. That means you're not going to have to edit your resume as much. So, any questions on looking at specific job postings? What I do recommend, if you don't have job postings, say for instance you're just trying to come up with a resume for something that hasn't been posted, you're just trying to get an idea, I actually recommend this website called onetonline.org. And this is actually a government website. I highly recommend it. This is what a lot of professionals in recruiting will use in HR to pull and find job postings. So let's see if there's going to be an example actually later, and I'll show you what online looks like. It's actually pretty good. All right. So we're going to do an exercise here. We have a job posting here, and just to get the juices flowing and get some brainstorming, I'm going to have you guys call out what you think keywords are used in this search here. So in this instance, we have an intellectual property law firm partner. So somebody read this description. Go for it.
Prominent international law firm seeks a 2 to 7 year associate with an antitrust practice for the Washington, D.C. office. Experience with an antitrust discipline can be in any business or healthcare area.
Excellent. Nice slow reading. I love it. Beautiful. All right. What do you guys think are some keywords to use in this job posting? What do you guys think are some potential keywords, I should say? Go for it.
Antitrust.
Antitrust.
There twice.
All right. What else?
Law.
Law. Cool. What else?
Partner.
Partner. Position title. Nice. What else?
Business.
What's that?
Firm.
Firm. Okay. Business.
Healthcare.
Healthcare, Washington DC.
Nice. I was waiting for someone to say that. Okay.
Experience.
Okay. Someone says experience.
International.
Experience with an X.
2 to 7 year.
Guys, you're writing every word down. Jeez. Okay.
More specifically, the 2 to 7 years with that.
So that's an interesting one, and some, like LinkedIn, for instance, you can actually, so say I'm a recruiter on using LinkedIn Premium to search for candidates, you can actually check how much experience you want. So do you want the candidate to have 0 to 5? Do you want them to have 5 to 10? So I think that is worth noting. However, for the sake of this example, it might be tough to include that in there. But that's LinkedIn specific because LinkedIn has their own special algorithms that can detect if you've had that much experience. So for the sake of your resume though, and this is from the book Resume Magic, they selected these keywords on what they felt were relevant here, but what was selected was associate, antitrust, partner, and Washington, D.C. So that being said, I felt like the keywords all of you guys chose were relevant and they were good, and those were there, but they actually only selected 4, so I wouldn't get too bogged down by it. You guys did a great job. Give you guys a D+ on that one. All right, cool. Who else wants to read Junior Project Architect? Let's do from this side.
The industry-leading construction, engineering, and design firm seeks qualified architects for Jacksonville, Florida-based positions. Qualified candidates, commercial, industrial, architectural experience, at least 5 years. Requisite degree, certificates, licenses, and/or registrations that are applicable. Excellent career opportunity with a progressive industry leader. Highly competitive salary, attractive benefits plan.
That's great. I just realized you must have good eyesight to be from back there and see how small the boards are. So very good. What do you guys think are the potential keywords that you might consider for this job posting? Architects, okay. Or architectural, what does that say? What else?
Commercial, industrial.
Okay.
Construction, engineering, design.
What was that one?
Construction, engineering, and design.
Okay. What else? What have we not hit upon?
Licenses.
Nice. Anything else you guys think?
Licenses.
I have a degree in licensing, registration.
See, that's really generic. You're right. It's like where applicable. So I would say like most job postings will actually list those certifications out. So just an example. You guys did great. So construction, engineering, architect, getting that position title in there, commercial, industrial, and Jacksonville. This is the most like spot on I think any group has ever done. So that's almost like exactly it. Wow. We've done about like how many, like 20 of these? Yeah, that's you guys. Good job, guys. Wow. You guys all round of applause. My mind is blown. That's incredible. Very good. And just to show you guys what ONET Online looks like, I think this is a great resource, like I said. And so in this case, you can. This search was for a math teacher, and just look at every different type of data point you can include. So like tasks, the technologies that are related, the knowledge. It even goes, and it should break down like the job requirements, the education level required typically for this type of position, and a lot of other things too. And yeah, they even have salary there, which I think is cool. So this is such a great resource, and I recommend it for all my job seekers. Okay. So in this case, I was able to pull such a funny, if you look even closer, it looks even more of a big Albert Einstein. It's just a ridiculous picture. But ignore that here. In this case, I was able to pull the different keywords, which are mathematics teacher, post-secondary, assistant professor of mathematics, instructor, and then nouns common to the position, which are Blackboard Learn, Microsoft Visual Basic, and critical thinking. Is this starting to make more sense to you guys? Yeah? Cool. So this brings us to the final part of this presentation, which is how do you integrate them into the resume? And it's a lot easier said than done. And trust me, I've written hundreds of resumes, hundreds and hundreds of resumes. And it's not easy sometimes, especially if you don't have that. However, from our experience, we were able to kind of break it down into these different areas in which most people can integrate keywords. So number one being the summary of qualifications at the very top, accomplishments within the resume, work experiences, skill section, and then the two surprising ones for a lot of people are contact information and that file name, which is often forgotten. So in this instance, this was the very first job posting we looked at, which was for the work partner. And we found out that the keywords most likely used are attorney, JD, antitrust, partner, and Washington, D.C. So in this case, if you're coming up with a summary statement to try to integrate some of these words, something I might come up with is seasoned attorney with 10 plus years experience serving Washington, D.C. clients in the antitrust discipline. So right off the bat, guys, you're able to include 3 of those different keywords in that summary statement. So you have attorney, Washington, D.C., and antitrust. And this is just the leading statement, and it's just the very first one. I actually recommend putting a lot of time and attention into that first statement because it's usually the first thing that people look at. Accomplishment or work experience. So in this case, you take a bullet point which is developed over 10 different software programs that reduce user time by at least 25%, becomes, and then integrating the word product development to that same exact bullet point. So this is a way of loading keywords at the very beginning of your bullet points to automatically start including that. So in this case, we're not keyword stuffing, we're not forcing it in there. It actually is related to product development, and you're finding ways to include that within your resume. Go for it.
What about reputation?
That's a good one. I'm trying to think of when I'm writing resumes. I find ways to mix it up. Within one work experience, I won't typically include the same keyword, but sometimes I'll get a repeater for a different position. So
for example, on this, for that resume, would you have it in the summary or qualifications line and also for the role itself, or?
I think so, because I think the summary reads differently because a lot of the times it's a few sentences within a paragraph. And so I don't think somebody's going to quickly scan and be repetition. I think they might just look at it and start to see a theme. So it's a good question. So file name, which is another really good one, and I advocate this for my clients. So say your name is John Smith, and you're applying for product development management positions within a tech firm. So most people will just name their resume John Smith resume, and I actually recommend you include your last name and the name of the position you're applying for. That is actually one of the best ways and most overlooked ways on how to include a specific keyword in your resume. So Smith, product development manager, boom. Any questions on that one? Yeah.
What if you're applying for multiple positions?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, you just add on to it, or?
So different file names. So if you're applying for, say you're applying for product development manager positions, and the other one is just software engineer. So you should have 2 different types of resumes for that, and so you would end up saving one as, you know, Smith, software engineer. Yeah, good question. Any other questions? Cool. These are all the right, but yeah, go for it.
Does the type of file that you say your resume has make a big difference, like if it's a PDF or
Yes.
DocSpot?
Yes, I love that question. This is one of the most commonly asked questions in the job seeker world. So I recommend for applicant tracking systems, if you're applying, send it as a Word doc. Why do you guys think that is?
Searchable words versus just a printed page, an image.
That's it, there you go. That's the
Links
answer.
work better too.
What was that?
The links work better also.
Yeah, that's true.
Links to sites or something.
But the issue with that, though, I created a whole YouTube video on this. Actually, it's very fun. But one of the issues we addressed was like the formatting actually gets messed up in a lot of Microsoft Word because there are different versions. And PDF, like especially a lot of you UX UI people, like you have these very pretty resumes, and I get why, because you want to showcase that creative aspect. I actually do recommend, if you can, send it as a PDF to not mess up the formatting, but make sure that somebody's actually going to receive it. It's not just software weeding you out. Does that make sense? So, like if you have that Word doc, definitely, if you're sending it to an applicant tracking system, Word doc, as much as possible. There are instances where people actually might request a PDF, and in that case, follow directions. But good. True or false? Applicant tracking systems software just is about scanning your resume for keywords. Do you guys think that's true? Raise your hand. True? And you guys think that's false? Okay. For those of you who said false, what else do you think that your applicant tracking systems will scan? What do you think?
Spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes.
That is true, but I think, actually I've never thought of that one, but yeah, that is interesting. But like, do you think that it scans like other elements besides your resume, like cover letter, for instance?
Didn't you say one of them tracks the social media?
Exactly, yeah. Already kind of alluded to it back there, but yeah. Social media is thing number one, especially if the software is advanced enough to look and pull into your LinkedIn accounts. So I do recommend trying to flesh out that LinkedIn as much as possible. But also your cover letters and other attachments or opportunities to include these keywords. And this is a really big one, but your answers in those applicant field questions, because it's not just about your resume. Like a lot of the times you will fill out actual questions here. I get probably one of the biggest complaints I've heard from recruiters is that applications aren't completely filled out. Like they just send in their resume and they'll put like really quick 1-sentence, few-word answers. I really recommend if you're filling out these applications, try to be as thorough as possible because every single word is an opportunity to include keywords, hands down. So definitely make sure you're including those answers, you're being as thorough as possible. Any questions on that? Cool. Hot tip number 4 is always be forward looking. And this is a tough one sometimes, but I always tell people look to match the position you're trying to fill and not necessarily those past experiences. And I think this is incredibly important to remember just because of the fact that a lot of recruiters are searching for that position title a lot of the times. So the 2 people in this room who will have the most trouble with this are students and career transitioners. How do I know? Because I've worked with a lot of them trying to redevelop their resumes. So in those specific examples, I would highly recommend finding other ways to include those specific keywords and position titles. So if you're a student, look to integrate those in your education section, or look to integrate those within projects you've had, especially if you're in the tech world. Like what are some specific projects you worked on and ways to include that. If you're a career transitioner, what you'll try to do is integrate that within your transferable skills as much as possible, and possibly a skills section. So always be forward-looking because at the end of the day, you're trying to be as targeted as possible, and this is going to end up helping you a lot in the long run. Awesome. Remember, guys, there is such a thing as taking this too far. Now with your newfound power, there comes responsibility not to abuse that power. So I recommend not exaggerating your past performances. Don't fall into that trap. Don't keyword stuff. I heard a story once about this guy who, what he ended up doing was taking a bunch of keywords he thought were relevant, turning to font size 1 and making it white and putting it at the bottom of his resume. I don't think it worked, and even if it did work, it just wouldn't make sense because like his resume wasn't a good match at all for the positions he was applying for. It was just a trick. So don't be cheap like that. Try to actually find good ways to integrate it. And like I said earlier, don't put all your weight into the resume. Like consider other pieces of the puzzle. I think that's important to remember. Don't write for the robot. So if you guys have ever opened up a spam email or something that just got you so excited, we call it clickbait, especially in the YouTube world. But it's really disappointing to find somebody and the resume doesn't really match your expectations. So try to make sure the positions you're applying for are in line with this. And yeah, I'm just trying to keep you guys from like a lot of heartache here. So.
Yeah, with the HR, we're going to review the resume anyway after it's been scanned.
Yeah, exactly. And so when they actually do review the resume, and eventually somebody's going to have to make a decision. It's not a machine, and it won't really help your case. So.
Well, what the software is not going to distinguish. Hey, you're writing this exactly like robot AI did, and they're not going to be distinguish. Hey, he's writing a little humidity on the side. The way the software can make that distinguish.
Right. And so, yeah, what it can do is it can like filter and bring people to the top. But yeah, I was looking at a screenshot of it showing like it's like 500 applications sent in. It's like 20 people interviewed. And so it's like they're working into the part of the process. But I don't think people are going to. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of tech people in the room, but the people making the decisions are going to be hiring decision makers and not robots for a long time, right? It just doesn't make sense. How many of you guys think that like within 5 years, like robots are going to be deciding, interviewing people? I don't know.
It's at least 20, 30 years out when it's even like relevant.
What was that?
It's going to be at least 30 years out when it's even like relevant.
Yeah,
where it's like a question of whether
it's a scary world.
Yeah, very much you have the first Skynet, right?
What was that?
Skynet, online.
Yeah. Listen, it's not gonna happen anytime soon, so this is why I advocate like that human appeal more than anything. Just make this an element of your resume writing, but don't like keyword stuff. That's the whole point. My last point I really wanted to make, and I wish the sound worked because I was maybe I can share this video with you in an email later. But this is a really good example of somebody who was persistent and was having a lot of trouble. He was a client that I wrote for personally in 2015, and he said he actually applied for 1,000 different positions, like without exaggeration. He applied for 1,000 different jobs for an entire year and was getting absolutely no success. So he came to me really frustrated. He was applying for tech positions. He's not even that old, but he still felt like age discrimination like was an issue for him, which is it's pretty sad to say, but it can be an issue sometimes. So he ended up applying for all these jobs, and he worked on his resume, like we worked together, and he ended up getting another interview like a week after that, and then a week after that he got another interview, and then the week after that he ended up getting an interview which turned into call back, and then job offer. And that position was a Fortune 500 company, PwC, ended up working as a network security analyst, so was instantly able to quadruple his salary like within just a matter of time. But like that crazy thing is like he actually applied for 1,000 positions, and it was the 1,001st position that ended up getting that job. So don't be discouraged. It's really tough, and like trust me, I've been through my fair share of struggles. Like definitely like there's like a lot of rejection. Like I'm definitely with you on a lot of that, but sometimes it really does take like just keep trying. So I couldn't do nearly as good of a job as he did in that video, so I'm sorry to say that, but I'll send you kind of his words and what he was able to do, which I thought was incredible. Remembering also that the job search on average can take 20 weeks and more, And if you're applying for specific positions that are higher, it could take even longer. And the numbers game aspect, so 2% of resumes when you're submitting them online will end up getting interviews. So that's not to say not to apply, but it is saying that you may have to do it over and over again until you get something that you want. So don't just apply through applicant tracking systems. Like, who do you know, like in your network, who could personally help you to get that position? You know, use LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's a great networking tool as well. So, does anyone have any, like, just by curiosity, like any stories about like networking, how they're able to get a position through like word of mouth or anything that wasn't just applicant tracking systems? Yeah.
Yeah, one of my previous jobs in a hospital was I only had about 10 months of experience. Submitted my application, didn't hear anything from it. And then I found a connection to someone that was working in there that knew the HR people. I heard back within like a few weeks after that. And when I found out that I had gotten the job, there was somebody else that had at least 10 years of experience and didn't get the job.
Okay.
So obviously experience, the resume, mine was a lot weaker, but I was able to get it just through word of mouth.
I've heard that story time and time again. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, well, it sounds a similar story. I had, yes, I got my previous job through, let's say, through networking through someone HR.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a job before it wasn't even posted. In other words, it's like some sort of like a hidden job market.
Right. So like same situation, like through somebody you knew.
Yeah, they refer to the HR, and the HR is able to give me that job as well. Like before it's posted on the like the Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a lot of, I read a statistic that said like, it's like 85% of positions out there are filled through networking of some sort, which doesn't really surprise me. So that's why I'm really telling people, like, you all know somebody, like you already know people who can, whether you know it or not, who can help you within your job search. So it's just finding out who those people are, and if there really aren't people, it's actually going out and meeting them. So I'm a big networking guy. I think it's really important to keep that. I know, like, especially if you're an introvert, especially if you're like thinking networking is awkward, like trust me, it can be. But I think it's important to somewhat integrate that into your game, and I'll always advocate for it. So cool. All right. Well, I really appreciated all of you guys, and thank you for being here. And well, question in a second.
Sorry.
But here's my email, just in case you need any contact. But that concludes the presentation, and now we'll hear your questions.
Yeah, you have any business card you can pass out?
So let's connect on LinkedIn. That's what I do instead of business cards. So we'll have some time afterwards, and then we'll connect. But yeah, cool. Yeah.
I've heard recommendations for LinkedIn to put keyword, like a keyword list at the bottom of each position you had. What's your take on that?
So a keyword list, like like bullet points, things like that.
Yeah, not even the bullet points, just like keywords, colon, and then just like words that apply to the position that you had that may or may not be in the description that you had of your.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that it's not clearly not as bad, but I think it's along the same lines of just including like keywords and not really having a context behind it. So I'm always like a proponent of finding a way to integrate it. Like I think the summary of qualification, the summary that they give you is one of the best opportunities to integrate keywords. But I don't think until that becomes like the norm throughout people in your industry, like it's not something that I would really stand behind. So it's a good question. Yeah.
Kind of on that same topic, in the description of the position that you had, do you want bullets or a paragraph? And if it is bulleted, which would make it easier to read, I would assume, should it be abbreviated or should it be full sentences that are grammatically correct or easier to read?
Good question. Is this resumes or LinkedIn?
Resume.
So bullet points all the way. That's my go-to. Well, for professional experiences, I recommend bullets. And that's because just recruiters really are only spending seconds on each resume, and that's just what makes it a lot easier. And for the sake of saving space, I always tend to err on the side of resume speak, so not the fully grammatically. I think they have their place. Like if you're applying for a company, you're trying to showcase your personality, I think I've seen those resumes that have have more of that first person personality to it. But 95% of the resumes I write are take that out. So.
And you mentioned an objective statement. Should that be on the resume or in the cover letter?
So I actually advocate more for a summary rather than an objective. Because I think objectives are talking about kind of what you want as a candidate, whereas recruiters are more interested in the value of the showcase. So I actually do recommend including that in the resume at the very top. So yeah, question? Anyone else?
I didn't hear any mention of like portfolios or how that should be included, whether or not you should throw your GitHub link in there or.
Yeah, that's a great question. So especially if you have a lot to show, I do recommend pointing people to your portfolio as much as possible, your website. I think your resume is really what should grab people's attention to say, hey, this is somebody I'm interested in. And if they're more curious about you, you offer them those other resources. So a lot of the times when I'm writing resumes, I'll at the bottom say, like, for a full, complete list of my experiences and accomplishments, check me out on, blank. So that'll either be a personal website or LinkedIn, if that's the easiest one. So definitely include those links. I think that's a good thing to do. Cool.
Along those lines, like, what do you think of project summaries? If you have like certain projects you've done.
Yeah, another really good question. So it depends on what other information you have to showcase. So if the projects you have are really the best thing you have going for you to attract attention from a recruiter, I would actually say yes, include that project summary because you do want some way of showcasing your value to somebody within a resume. And I would say do it. Once again, I'm a bullet points guy. It's easier to read, so I try to be accomplishment oriented. I try to showcase numbers and specific context, but cool. Great questions, guys. Really love it. Anything else?
Well, let's give Chris a big round of applause again. Guys, I hope you learned a little bit from this presentation of Chris, specifically at resumes. I want to bring up to the stage some fantastic people. They are job seekers themselves. They have been job seekers. However, they have an amazing program, amazing community called the Austin Developer Community. So I'm going to let them kind of take off and kind of what they do and how they do it. But introducing James here and George as well.
How you doing? So a little bit about myself. I used to be a store manager for a restaurant for 10 years. And I kind of decided that was just not for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. So I ended up saving up for a full year to be able to take off the work. I ended up going to Galvanize to teach myself web development. From there, I've been networking. I've been out meeting people. I've been trying to find a job. I've been trying to find projects to work on. I've been freelancing. I've had a chance to work on like 4 or 5 different projects since I've graduated. I've got good references from those people, and it's just been trying to build my network and, like what Chris was saying, trying to get those people that can advocate for you. I ended up finding George with Austin Developer Community, and we've been trying to partner together to just help people that are trying to find a job, people that are underrepresented. The big thing for me is I'm a junior developer, and as a junior developer, oh, you're a junior developer, I'm sorry. We're looking for someone with 5 years of experience. We're looking for somebody with 10 years of experience, and this huge long resume, which I just don't have. So we've been working together to try to do things like this, help work on resumes, help work on digital presence. We're working on putting together a hackathon to hire event for next year, and it's just all kind of geared towards helping the community out. I feel like if I have questions about things, or if I can't figure something out by myself, I know there's got to be other people out there in the world that have the same kind of situation. So we're trying to just bring the community together and just get that voice heard. We're trying to kind of do away with recruiters if we can. We're trying to attack the actual companies, get big name people in. We're trying to go around that 5 to 10 years of experience thing if we can, you know, and definitely just showcasing our skills. You know, we have this, we can do this. Our people in our group can do all of this, and that's what we're trying to do as our own personal branding for our organization, and that's what we do. I mean, we're just trying to help everybody out.
All right. Thanks, James. So first, I'd like to give a hand to Matt and Chris for the awesome presentation they did today. So yeah, so let's see. Here we go. So who are we? Like you said, we are Austin Developer Community. So one of the things that Chris said that kind of stuck with me and struck me is the recruiters are playing a guessing game, and that's totally true. As far as everyone knows, as far as they clue people in on. So we are not playing a guessing game. We know that for a fact that diversity and inclusion is a problem in the tech world. There's not enough of it. We know that it's hard to get hired as a junior, as you know, senior age folks, different disadvantaged groups that we're trying to bring together with this diversity and inclusion hackathon to hire. We were shooting for January 4th through 6th, but we started planning the hackathon like 2 months ago. I started seeking sponsorship 2 to 3 weeks ago, and the companies are coming back to me saying, you know, you're too late, sorry. So we have now pushed it back to April 5th through the 7th. That is like a boom or bust date. Like, if it doesn't happen, then it's not going to happen. But we're doing everything under our power to make it happen. So yeah, we're right now we are a Texas or a domestic nonprofit corporation. I have applied for 501c3 status through the IRS, which is its whole fun and games. And so we don't get paid for any of this. We never will. We're just doing this because we see a need and we want to try to fill that need. So Charles back there is also one of the guys that sits on the board with us for the Austin Developer Community. So if you want, you're welcome to scan our QR code. I know a lot of you here actually have filled out the questionnaire and submitted the form, so if you want to take a pass on that, you can. But if you're interested, this QR code does scan for contact info for us and our website as well. So yeah, so any questions on that? I know it's kind of an interesting thing to hear at the end of this. But
What's the website?
AustinDeveloperCommunity.com is what you can visit. We'll redirect you to a Google form with our questionnaire that will get your information.
And what we're doing is we're sending out things like this event. We're sending out just general information as to what we're doing and how we're trying to help out and how we're trying to just be together and be that voice. That voice is what's going to help us help the whole community as a whole to get to find jobs, to be seen, so we're not kind of just swept underneath the rug anymore.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, so the hackathon to hire is, we're hoping to have probably at least 3 companies that can onboard an entire hackathon team, so 4 to 6 people. And you know, it's the same typical format of a hackathon. You group together Friday, you work Saturday, you work Sunday, and then Sunday evening they will choose a winning team for each company. The companies brought their own programming challenge, so that's what you're working on throughout the weekend. And then the winning team every member will get an on-site interview as part of a process for employment. It has to be guaranteed that that spot is available with the company. So
do you have any questions by chance?
We're just a little bit more on it. I've talked to Capital Factory, Galvanize, WeWork, and Oracle is actually a potential venue. So they're all either cheaper because we're doing this for free or basically free. And we've got the groups together. We've got Austin Startup Meetup, which has about 1,600 folks. We've got my Programmer Community, which has about 1,900. Various other ones, total memberships about 6,200. And we're just looking forward to getting the first sponsorship because that's what it takes to make this happen. So, anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you. Guys, what a way to get connected. Doing things like this, going to meetups, going to hackathons, meeting people just like this in the community, ultimately is another great resource for you to go out and get a job. And hopefully Chris gave you a little bit of light on how you can apply effectively and use your time efficiently when online. However, I can honestly tell you, a lot of your time should also be better spent going to events like that, going to more meetups, going to professional affiliated local chapters here in Austin. Going on LinkedIn, asking your friends who do they know, you know, and just like, even if they don't know someone who has a job, I'm sure they know someone who does. Chris talked about networking earlier, and I wanted to share a story about a personal mentor of mine. He actually had, and I want to somehow make this make sense for you, but he had a mentor early on in his career who actually opened him up to a lot of opportunities. And throughout the whole entire way, yes, he had the resume to back it up, yes, he had the keywords, yes, he was going to events, but ultimately he knew someone kind of in the industry who could vouch for him and who said, okay, this person completes every single project that he puts his mind to. He's timely, he's a hard worker, and he's pretty much going to make this work. And so for him, kind of that's another good access you can, another good resource you can access is just mentors, professional relationships, stuff like that. So that's a little bit of, what's that?
Online networks are another really good resource too.
Yeah.
Like for your school.
Absolutely. Alumni networks. Perfect example. One more resource. Cool. We're resume writers. If you need help, please let us know. We have a funny stat up there. 32% of you are not going to do anything. It's a funny thing we made up because we've been doing this, you know, formally for about 2.5 years. And from the people that I contacted, hey, how's it going? How's the job search? Oh, you know, I just haven't had time to work on it. I've been so busy with my other job. Guys, listen. You have almost 2 full-time jobs. You're looking for one, and you have one. Okay? It's so hard. So again, I want to commend you for coming out here on a Tuesday night. It's very hard. I want to commend you for going home and wanting to work in this. Tap us. We're always doing stuff like this. We're always writing. We're actually, you know, blog writers and podcasters in our spare time. This is an amazing voice. If you like podcasts, go and get in your car and listen to his voice talk to you about more interesting stuff as well in the career. And so, but aside from that, also happy to help you write it yourself. If you're interested, go ahead and write your email down on the surveys. I'm also going to have you take the survey just so we know how to improve this, how to get better. So if you guys take just a short moment to do that, this should make it before you get there. If you end up actually signing up and you schedule a call with us, I will talk with any of you about your specific resume for free, 30 minutes, however long it takes. If you want to talk more about specifically your situation, I'd be happy to do that.
You have like a contact number or email?
Yes. We're going to follow up with you via email, but one later. Yeah.
I can just send you the word.
Exactly.
Is your podcast also called Let's You Grandma?
So it's the Let's You Grandma Career Warrior podcast. We just renamed it. And we're at our 23rd episode. Like 3 of them are focused on networking, I think. So by no means am I the networking expert. So I usually bring on experts so I can learn from them. That's kind of the idea.
And you said you're on YouTube as well?
I'm not a big YouTuber. I feel like I don't like thrive on the awkward from the camera, so I like to kind of hide behind the microphone. So yeah, I only have it's sad. We have a YouTube channel, but we only have like 17 subscribers, and we try to put it up. But the podcast is doing a lot better in terms of the downloads and stuff. So I try to stick to that.
Yeah, the site says 50% off deal right now, but I'm telling you, if you just write down your email, again, I'll promise you a personal career score. I'm going to look at it, see how it stacks up for free, and then if you still want a service, I'll be happy to send the deal for you later on. Not a problem.
Before you guys go, I I need to do this because they're awesome. Shout out to Capital Factory. I've been here for a year and a half. We've been paying each like several hundreds of dollars per month. It's incredibly worth it. So if you are interested, talk to anyone at front desk, and it's really great to work out of. So they have been sponsoring this meetup for more than a year now. So we owe our respects to them, and just a beautiful space in general. So shout out, guys. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, if anyone's interested in doing a little networking post, we should do a LinkedIn Bluetooth party. Great way to remember some of these faces in this room and see.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Or we could exchange a business card.
Yeah.
So, yeah, business cards,
Yeah.
please, guys. And so I'd recommend, let's just give it a try. If you guys have the LinkedIn app, both on your computer and on your phone.
Yeah, I want to connect.
That's crazy. And then you actually go to the Friends tab. Find nearby. You should have your Bluetooth on.
That's George. I found George and Matt, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the Friends. I guess you're on the app, so I don't know if you can. If you don't have the app, I don't believe you can do.
Yes, okay. So you must have a weekend app on the phone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We got a Bluetooth as well.
What you do is you go to
What was your name?
go to the bottom where your friends at.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Yeah, what was your name?
And then you can go to find nearby. But as long as your Wi-Fi's on, they show up. Yeah, I mean, sorry, not your Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, your Bluetooth. Oh, Bluetooth. And it just shows up like people that are in your network, and then also the
Awesome, that's a good picture.
and then you can add them as
This is
well.
all connected to you right now.
Everybody figuring it out.
No, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, you never know who you're gonna find. Absolutely.
He's trying to turn the Bluetooth on.
Oh, okay. Huh.
This kind of learns something new.
I'm gonna have to go back.
I think it was a little faster.
That's a good idea. That's a good thing at the beginning of that.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
sometimes this happens. No,
Yeah.
put that aside. Okay.
Yeah, a little just shout out to one of Chris's podcasts about just LinkedIn in general and how to use it effectively. Sometimes it really is about who you know and really working those social networks. Of course, you want to do it meaningfully, but oftentimes, say on LinkedIn, people are going to be looking for someone on their team, especially if you've kind of made that face-to-face connection and you've kind of, hey, we met at a work party, we met, outside of a meetup event. That is a really good way to work your network and kind of, they may be able to vouch for you. They may be able to just say, hey, you know what? I know this job opening that's coming up. Why don't you just give it a shot? Really powerful way to use your connections. Thank you guys so much. That really concludes our presentation.
That's
Appreciate it.
Yeah, feel free to hang out.
Yeah.
Feel free to hang out and chat for a little bit. We'll be actually here for the next like 10, 15 minutes or so, but y'all welcome to do whatever y'all want to do.
Excuse me, man. You said you're into the.
Yeah, I'm like, graduated this year, and there's no work experience relative, like I've done a lot of
Thanks y'all for coming, man. Y'all were
awesome.
Yeah. Partnership, I think I'm really proud to talk about like being involved in the tech community personally. So it justifies my presence at Capital Factory. So
Or do I just?
Hopefully in a couple, maybe not this month,
Right.
like February or something.
I recommend
Something else you can do.
how long
Yeah,
did
yeah.
that one experience?
Keep trying to get people that more and more.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hopefully next time we'll be pricing people
Place,
here.
so
Yeah,
you already
that'd
know
be
this
cool.
place a lot.
December's always an interesting one because most people slow down their jobs
Wait on
and
it,
stop
so
trying so
content
hard.
wise, like
When January, like you see people.
However, people sometimes,
But,
in your case, I think
like,
they
it's like
like
the New Year's resolutions, things like that.
I know, like, I've been getting people reaching out for me on
I would say,
LinkedIn a lot lately.
Really?
I think it might be because we
Maybe a free proposal.
We'll see.
Try to see what transferable skills you can bring to the table. So maybe example of the job for Friday.
Can I ask him? Oh, no, never mind. I thought you were gonna. I was like, what happened to this?
For example,
your position you have
so looks like this.
are you
any kind of development of a training project. Here it is. Your most, like there was one always about a month.
Yes, please, thank you.
You want to highlight looking for web development?
No, I'm more like Java, so I'm used to every stuff.
Whatever would highlight that, I would put that on there. In mine, I have a lot of high school experience with backend systems, things like that. Highlight all the security testing and things like that.
That's a soul searching question.
And I did that. And that's actually been 18 years ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, Taylor, yeah, very cool. Yeah. Dude, they're gonna put a face.
Yeah, so-
Very welcome. Thank you.
This is the final project that we have in the past. So we worked on this. So this is what we worked on. So having the the source and the destination. So we find out separate up our calculations and all those.
So like, mine stuff like this, I don't know, she always said, so I don't know, more in the comments.
Yeah, I got friends.
A little bit of a description about what I use.
Whatever, I guess.
I just want to invite you it's a show. We have like
I'm so glad I got to reach this.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's like my
we all do. That's something that
Yeah, like I'll just that's more information. So I just have this awesome text, I don't have my address in there because
I go in and pass it on, like I did something.
yeah, they want to have your address. Like,
you're big,
as long as you're an office, like your LinkedIn, your whatever, my personal
you need
site,
stuff.
and then like email. And that way they can.
And you said you're both web build stuff.
Yeah, so I do. Yeah, I do. So I
haven't heard it.
It was just many times.
So what we do is that we do a
from GitHub, but it's off the master branch.
Yeah, this is true.
Most of the whole assignments that we do are.
But I also
do it that way, but I've never.
So math and
yeah, I didn't even do it either, honestly.
Do they have any like guarantee or how often
or I post it on my Firebase. I like that. But it's pretty simple, it's to the point, it's got projects, their information about them, tech use, see more projects is just a link to my GitHub profile, and then things that I'm working on in the future, like coming soon, and kind of thing.
Yeah, just the fact that it was on GitHub.
Actually, it's funny,
I never do what's set up. So now I started
shies away from it.
to learn how to create my own.
I know it too.
I can show
Actually,
people my
Oh my God, but to the point. And right now I'm working on like a professional one for like what I can do, but not have it as an actual portfolio. If that makes sense. For my own freelancing, I guess. This is how it works. But this is what I give it like potential points. So that yeah.
So how long
it's kind of like a resume again. And what I'm doing and when kind of see my stuff and what I'm supposed to do.
And then got the course
I had no idea what I was doing.
Which is, but yeah, it's just.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Or I could just.
That wasn't like,
or
my
yeah,
numbers
or
was
I could just add videos into a cute card
relative.
or whatever it is on the
Yeah, with the photo on the hub, yeah, definitely went to that.
Yes.
And you might want to do like,
Well, for me, I don't have a lot of white papers, but white papers is a good thing. Oh, yeah, so, oh, well, I took it out, this is PDFs or whatever, so they will click that, and it will send it out on the top. So, because the list is long, so, but they're kind of joking together and they're kind of hard to read. So maybe like, I mean, not necessarily the way but like, separating them out and making them where you can actually see them. Yeah. Like, that's why it instills a little bit on this portfolio. So also, you got first person act on the go there. And that's everything up there on top of it. Like, okay, so maybe put those in there, projects like this one right here. Was my capstone project that I worked on at Galvanize. It was been on helping people get involved in local government, giving people budgets. Yeah, I'm still soft. I got a lot of time
for 3 years. I've been doing Simple Plus for like 5 years. It's kind of off and on. It's a working site.
Like, it's a
job right now.
30 guys.
I like Java so much. Work on it. Especially when you're working with this stuff. This is now.
So what?
But Java is so language started at you look at C++, like what do you like for fun? Build a website for that. Have you seen something that well, no, C++ is more like Java. But yeah, cool thing that does this. You create a function and want there's a lot of stuff built in and whatever.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to let C. I now moved on to Java and then C.
Finish things.
That's my 3 man.
Yeah, but everything
How do you do
C++ too, like more like Java now.
Yeah,
so there are some things I have to have in there.
But the rest of this is
this is on Microsoft Word, but then I also have it set it as
That's a good one. It's the one that's got like 4 kids out and runs it. She's not and then you always have
I just think
that's
my girlfriend is doing a lot of papers for communications, and she was and I think we had a problem.
Yeah, like online it's like quite a bit of marketing and then it's like sales jobs and there's not too many jobs I see posted. That being said, the most standing job offer I have is to start.
I love like for applications online, it says drag and drop file in, I find out how to get for you. Yeah, you can.
So there's stuff like that, and then just network there all you can, and just add people. It's like the game, so 500 plus people. It's tough though, right? Been searching for like
since you were the president of these two, I have to actually send in there, message on maybe I would post it in the section. I did this. You know, has weird things where for example, like half the time I don't go. I only worked at one time. I'm still working on it. I think
framework set up, it's
And you know, when they bring in security, then you can elaborate on that.
for instance, you know, the meetup for this one, I think it was
I think you have a lot of
I mean,
space.
it looked good, but
Do
they're
what
like
you want to do with it.
yeah, so the number is like 40 to 60%. I mean,
Driving was the word they actually used in there. Like I kind of I took the job description they had, all the keywords that were in it.
Yeah, that's no, I told her that. Like, so why don't you just charge like 5 or 10 bucks?
Like when you look for like
I didn't know it. I mean, I have the app on my phone. I've read this
I've had some people.
I will search for it.
Yeah, it's like,
I know, it's weird. So it's Hannah, H-A-N.
Yeah.
Be uncomfortable, ask people questions, you know, what's the worst thing you can say, it's all I want to help you.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
I like that.
That's part of the
Yeah, so you'll find that developers, they understand what it is and they're pretty.
Couple,
so that-
like running off like 18
so like John,
oh my god, well, it's too late.
as immediate hire need for
I'm trying,
web designer,
our
web
limited
designer,
code,
you will
which
be
was huge,
responsible
but
for
then they kind of
designing
nailed
images,
us,
web
because
updates,
early on, I was doing fair and then it kind of turned back into
implementations. If you're local to the Dallas area and allows people to on site full-time, really applies to that. So keywords is really like a web designer, you know, develop landing pages. You know, this is what they're actually doing. They're looking for.
factory here.
They're looking for a web designer.
I think our time runs out like February
For
1st.
developing web pages, web updates, tutorial templates, as well as creative client presentations. That's what they want. So you want to incorporate that into your response. They don't want to hear your life story. They don't care. They want someone that can do the job.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what they want. They want someone that can do the job.
What was
You
your
know,
name?
the other things, the next set of keywords that are important is they said something about Irving, Texas, but you want a location. That's where they're at. They want someone to do that. So I don't think they're likely to do that.
I mean, just to have.
Well, it motivated you guys.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much about
It's not a
qualifications.
fun thing to
All
do,
places will
but.
say,
Yeah.
looking for somebody with 2 to 5 years of experience.
I talked to this guy, Jaipur, at pretty much our campus for a year. What he did is he got like in a month, he can get like hours, applicants. So what he did is that he just draw out whatever that minimum qualifications and just. So as long as you have expectations, and then get to the second round. And then we're gonna look at what the
It was kind of drawn out process, but still my foot door.
But the GPA is the one that look at
to work with them to help them get success.
He hate to say that,
Yeah, get
but
it.
It's an emotional
Yeah.
thing, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, and even like,
Yeah,
like
it could be that
like,
false.
like starting
I don't
out
have a
it's
GPA
like
thing
not easy to like
anymore,
getting classes
so-
all
yeah, lift it up is like
the same way.
2.0
setting up,
less,
you know,
less
showcasing
than
your
that.
value, and interviews are like, you know, phone
Yeah.
calls and stuff, so.
But the other, this
But
guy,
it's
he got
like
his GPA on
going, putting out more value,
interview.
eventually people take notice.
Because his product is so,
Yeah.
so
Get
like,
it.
valuable to the Google. So,
Yeah.
and he actually
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
a role,
Nice to meet you.
he was a sort of like,
Yeah, that's Hannah.
so,
And,
interview.
I'm on the.
Okay, awesome. So you're on the programmer?
A lot of tech here.
Okay, yeah.
It's like 100% tech.
I think there might be another I've been getting some
All right.
emails lately
Y'all take care.
about switching, converging.
The junior group got, that was one of the groups we were working with, and he bailed, and I was like, let's kill himself. Yeah, I don't know, a good substitute to take over.
Yeah, it's just that, just the whole.
Cool. Alright, well, see y'all down the road.
I really like how you. Do you want me to send email it to you?
Oh yeah, if you do that, even better.
Oh, LinkedIn. You have it on LinkedIn. Yeah, I just request you to join the booth to be up.
Okay.
You know,
From me again? Sorry.
Charles.
Charles and Matt. Nice to meet you. Cool. So you see over these guys?
Kind of
work
quiet one, I guess. Yeah, so, well, mine is, I got the logic to put the project like stuff, balance or whatever.
So Ronnie, you said you're doing support right now, but you're obviously looking to.
I was doing sport in next Mississippi. I moved here 2 months ago.
Dude, nice, man.
So, trying to get out of there and get somewhere that's not so crowded.
Yeah, dude, I support that. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
But it's also the problem of like being the smartest guy in the room in Memphis. There's not a whole lot of